Welcome to the Okendo D2C Spotlight. I'm Rachel Tyers, VP of Strategic Partnerships at Okendo, and today I'm excited to be joined by Daria Rose, Director and Technology and Ecommerce at TVP. TVP is a New York-based Shopify Plus partner that specializes in e-commerce technology, agency services, operations and fulfillment, and merchandising and sourcing. Daria, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, what sparked your initial passion for e-commerce and what motivated you to start your own agency?
We joke about this a lot, and it's a silly and also obvious answer. I shopped a lot. I was probably one of the earliest adopters of my friend group to e-commerce. And I remember, very, very quickly, like high school, we were going to the mall. And then the second I got to college, I remember, and I don't remember exactly when these companies came out, but Gilt and Rue La La both came out around the same time. And I mean, it was not a joke how many Rue La La packages I would get to my house like every week. My roommates were like, you have a problem, like you can't. And it was so good because they would, they had this trick where you could return things and you wouldn't have to pay for return shipping if you got store credit. So I would basically just like keep buying things and returning it and kind of keep growing and adjusting my store credit. And, that slowly kind of pivoted into starting to support a lot of direct to consumer brands. I started just kind of getting more comfortable with things online. And I just loved the process of being able to buy a lot, try it on in the comfort of my own home and send it back with ease. I also got really frustrated with bad experiences. And that's what motivated me to start the agency part of TVP. I had so many poor experiences that I just knew how to help them. I knew what a good experience was. And I thought if I could help them, I should. And that was in 2014. So since then, that's kind of been our mission.
Awesome. It's so interesting to hear that. Do you ever recommend store credit as an option for your clients today for returns, or what's your strategy there given your past experience?
That's a good question. And I don't right now because the options are not that great on Shopify with store credit. You can offer a Shopify gift card in exchange for a return, but it's a pretty manual process for customer service. There are a couple of apps. So I think Rise.ai is one of them. So Shopify has a little bit of work to do there. I mean, even recently I was shopping on a brand called Shop Cider. So I'm obsessed with tartan and they got me and I ordered the pants and I also ordered a bunch of other things. And then there were things I loved that I kept. There were things that were like, okay, but I was like, I don't love them enough to keep them. So I started a return. And they were like, oh, if do you want store credit, which you'll get immediately? Do you want, a refund, which you'll get in X days or blah, blah, blah. I opted for store credit. And when I got to the next step, they actually let me keep the items anyway. Processing a return and shipping it back, that's expensive for them. So it probably costs them not a lot to make the item. So they're like, hey, keep the item, get store credit. We're going to keep a shopper out of you. So I do really think store credit is a good way to lower your return costs and kind of keep customers coming back.
Totally. That's so interesting. And a hot tip, maybe I will make that first purchase on Cider. It costs so much less to keep an existing customer than it does to acquire a new one. So I think that strategy can make sense for a lot of brands.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge.
So you were only 24 when you launched TVP. What is something you know now that you wish you knew then or that you did then?
I do look back and learn from the past, but I pretty strongly believe in things happening for a reason. But I think that the way we've grown, it started as just me doing sales and strategy and design and development. I didn't have too many clients, so I was able to do it. And as soon as it got overwhelming, I started by hiring contractors for all, like on a project basis, contractors that I trusted. And then once business got even bigger, I hired the contractors and kind of started hiring more contractors. So now I had some employees and some contractors. And it kind of just kept expanding that way. And for the holidays, we have a couple more contractors on, but it's between 15 and 18. Actually, there is one thing I would have changed. We are currently working on our own theme, which we've built things from scratch and we've used the Shopify theme store. We have not had our own kind of proprietary theme, which we're now working on. So I think it would have saved us some headache along the way.
That makes sense. Are you using the Shopify 2.0 Dawn theme?
I think that I do think that Shopify 2.0 is one of the big reasons I wanted to start our own theme now, because there are a lot of customizations that we build multiple times for clients, maybe like a complete the look section or some kind of smart section where we've kind of had to rebuild it every time. And I think 2.0's ability to drop sections anywhere and quickly create templates in the editor is just massive. You know, we're not going to put this theme in the theme store. It's purely a theme for our clients and kind of a value add for working with us. But I do think 2.0 has helped with that. It's also much faster, which is nice.
So what are some of the most frequent issues your clients struggle with, and how can merchants avoid them to begin with?
So one thing we see a lot of the time is not having a good content plan in place. So not really thinking through the final content of your site until 3 days before you launch, and then kind of scrambling to get it together. So a format that we've changed recently, we've tried to change as much as possible, is actually a content first approach. So not a design first approach, but a what is the story you're telling and how do we design for that story, versus let's design something that works and then fit the content to the design. Does that make sense? So I think content first is really, really important. And even if you're going to change your content, but are you going to change your story? And I think the other thing is, and this is probably even bigger than the last one, is you have to be willing to try things out and give them some breathing room and wait and be patient before you try the next thing. Because way too frequently we see someone try something, the next day it's not showing the results they wanted to show. You know, we know that your bottom line is important. We know your revenue and your conversion rate and all these metrics are important, but you also need to give people time to adjust. The conversion rate for returning visitors is much higher than it is for first-time visitors. So you have to think, if you've just launched something new, the people who came to your site, maybe they didn't resonate immediately, but they remembered you and they're going to come back the next time they see an ad. So it's really important to think that and just give the features a little bit of breathing room before you go crazy. And I think kind of going along with that is metrics on a daily basis are dangerous to look at. You need to look at metrics over the course of at least a week, if not 2, ideally 30 days, because that paints a much better picture than day by day. There are so many factors that affect your KPIs, and you cannot look every single day and say, oh, something dropped today. You have to just give it a second, give it room to breathe.
So one of your responsibilities at TVP is to drive the direction of phantom commerce. Why did you decide to build it, and what does it mean for e-commerce?
So Phantom is our currently mostly internal software tool that basically connects Shopify with our fulfillment systems, or I guess marketplaces in general with our fulfillment systems, as well as our manufacturing arm. So we have 3 main departments: manufacturing and merchandise production, fulfillment and logistics, and e-commerce. So Phantom connects all 3. And the main benefit of Phantom is what it allows, the flexibility that it allows merchants. So some of its main features are bundling done in the correct way. So basically doing bundling on the back end as opposed to within Shopify, which can lead to inventory inconsistencies and bad experiences. And then it also has a pre-order and a sell ahead feature. So the pre-order feature allows you to basically run a campaign or sell past the stock you have, but keep those orders organized in a single place, as opposed to kind of littered among all of your other orders for things that are in stock. And then the sell ahead feature, which is incredibly relevant right now, allows you to sell against a current purchase order. So if you have a purchase order in with your manufacturer for 1,000 pieces, you can sell against that purchase order instead of waiting for it to come in. So all of these things really just are kind of sales enablement tactics by giving merchants, not limiting them so much by like the exact stock that they have in their warehouse, and giving them more flexibility around the kinds of products you can sell. We're soon, there's going to be a slight marketing element to it. So taking the data of what works, we're going to allow you to actually create ads for those specific products and say, hey, this bundle is doing really, really well. Let's put more spend towards an ad for this bundle. So it's just about making smarter decisions and not, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Rachel, but I have clicked on an ad that has then taken me to a sold out product. And I am you literally just paid for me to click on something that I can't buy. So it's like, that shouldn't be allowed. So Phantom is trying to kind of alleviate those issues.
That's so smart. I can't tell you how many times I've had merchants come to me looking for a way to fix their bundling problems. And I just wasn't aware of that many solutions currently that work well, that aren't like overly complex. Is there any plans for you to release Phantom Commerce to a wider audience at some point in time?
So we do have the ability, and it depends on what your fulfillment system is. It's potentially something we could make work.
So what inspired you to start your podcast, E-commerce Stand Up, and what do you hope to accomplish with it?
There were a couple of different parts to it. One was my co-host Belinda and I would chat every morning. And I think my co-founder just jumped on the chat once and was like, this is just what you guys talk about every morning. Like, this is valuable stuff. Other people should hear these conversations. And I was like, why would people care about what I have to say? I think that's also part of just like becoming more of an expert in the space. I'm like, oh yeah, I do have to say good things. People should listen to them. And I think the other part is, I mentioned that part of our kind of ethos as a company is that we want to provide value to every size business. Now, unfortunately, as we grow, it does make it a little bit harder to really dedicate attention to some of the smaller merchants. So we've actually gotten some really, really, really great feedback from people first launching brands. I think the third part, and we're still getting to this, is we really wanted to highlight women in e-commerce as one of our series. So I have fantastic conversations with people like yourself, leads at other companies. A lot of our clients are all female led. So it was just about trying to highlight and give women in e-com a voice, and seeing if we could get those stories out there, and seeing if we can encourage even more female entrepreneurship or more women to join tech related roles.
Yeah, I really resonate with that mission. And I also think that it's just really great of you to be able to share your experience, because you're the e-commerce expert. This is what you do day in, day out, but you're helping people that are just entering the space, that don't even know where to start or don't know the ins and outs. And you're just providing that information to them, free of charge. So I think that's really great.
Yeah. And I mean, we were helping a group called Entreprenista. They had a competition where they picked 6 winners to get store builds with us. I just noticed a lot of the same questions, and some of the episodes we're releasing in the next few weeks are going to be tackling some of those. Like, a lot of the questions are like, where to even start?
Now, how did you go about putting together your online course? How to use data to increase conversion rate? And what advice would you give to someone trying to create their own course?
So this is a very good question. And, I'm actually creating a second course. So I'll talk about both courses. And I think the first course was actually, it came out of a conversation similar to this. I was talking to Amena, who is my friend over at Shopify. And Shopify was putting together this initiative. They were looking for experts to kind of be founding members of Compass Courses by Shopify. And Amena just thought I would be a really good fit. And we have, we're a bit unique in our data-driven approach to e-commerce. So really our, I would say bread and butter is usually, your second or third build. We do launches quite a lot, but migrations and or redesigns are where we're kind of most powerful because we have that year or two of data to back up all of our decisions. And we, without fail, see great results from it. In terms of creating the content for the course, that was tougher. And I don't even know, that took a long time to put together. And it was really a matter of kind of breaking down everything we do when we're doing an audit into kind of each individual step and breaking it down for someone who doesn't know anything about data as much as possible. I could talk for 3 hours probably about all of it, and I had to keep it to like 30, 40 minutes. So it was really just about, and I think there's an exercise in elementary or grade school where it's like, if you had to write a recipe for like an alien or a Martian who like had no idea how to make cookies, like how would you explain that? So that's kind of the approach we took to, okay, let's figure out how to teach someone Shopify analytics if they don't even know what the word analytics means. So that was the first part. And then the course that I'm coming out with probably in January is inspired by the Entreprenista winners, where I'm just noticing a lot of the same issues and questions. So I thought, hey, can I kind of provide this on a bigger scale? Can I provide a course where people can actually end up with a fully functioning Shopify site by the end of the course? And it's going to even be a little bit more one-on-one. There's going to be like office hours involved where you'll actually meet with me and I'll give you feedback on things. So I'm pretty excited about that.
All right. Now, TVP emphasizes data-driven design, as you were saying. What kind of data do you look at to inspire new designs, and how do you know how to best apply that data?
That's really kind of the secret sauce. So, I can dig into it a little bit, and the course that we just talked about will help with that. But there's 3 main levels to it. There's the Shopify Analytics dashboard, which gives you a very, very, very high level kind of health of your store. But then you have to dig into each report to layer it a little bit. So looking at your overall conversion rate is not enough. You need to look at your conversion rate from devices, from traffic sources. So is your organic traffic versus your paid traffic versus your direct traffic, and then from landing page as well. So that's generally where we start. And it starts to give us a baseline. So if your overall conversion rate is 2% and your desktop is 5% and your mobile is 1%, that tells us the desktop experience doesn't have a lot of friction, but the mobile experience does. So where are we, that's kind of one point that we make. And then same thing with landing pages. We look at where people are landing, whether it's from an ad or whether it's from search. And we say, okay, are people converting more when they land on a collection page or a product page? We actually had one client where the highest conversion rate was when people entered from a blog. So the suggestion for them was, hey, let's push out the blog content. Let's advertise the blog content. Let's get more people into the blog and see what that does. So it's all about kind of finding these little pathways and seeing, what's happening on these pathways. We then take kind of the different things we think about and we go into Google Analytics to dig a little bit deeper. So from Shopify Analytics, we might have, your conversion rate from a specific paid source or from paid, but now we go to Google Analytics to dig into each paid source. So a specific campaign, a specific ad, we kind of dig a little more. And then the final step is actual anecdotal evidence. So once we have all of our ideas, we watch anywhere between 100 and 500 user sessions. And it just depends on, how much traffic the site gets and how much we need to kind of support our claims. And we actually look at where are people dropping off? we're looking at people's mouse movements and saying, oh, your navigation is confusing because people are clicking something and then going right back to the navigation. So you can kind of make a lot of inferences from watching people. It's very important though, and I say this, like, this evidence is anecdotal. So you cannot look at one user session and say, oh, they bounced on this page. This page is horrible. I must change it completely. No, you have to just say, okay, this one person supports my thought. And that's why we watch from 100 to 500 sessions, so that we get not just one person, but, oh, these 30 people or these 40 people all kind of did something similar. Now I'm getting, more concrete evidence. You want a statistically significant sample.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that you could do that. Do you use special tools, or is that something that's available to you in Shopify? How do you watch sessions?
It's not in Shopify. So there's two main, there's more than two, but we use two. There's Hotjar and there's Lucky Orange. And it's anonymous. It's like heat mapping and anonymous recording. So I don't know who you are. I do know what browser you're on and what city you're in.
Yeah. Without revealing any trade secrets, what is the best piece of advice you like to give merchants trying to optimize their conversion rates?
I do think kind of what I just dug into about layering your reports is the most important thing, because seeing a tile that says your conversion rate or that says your traffic from different sources is just one piece. And you really need to dig into, like, there is so many different ways people kind of get into and enter your site. You just need to look at all of the information. So look at, and also the other thing to think about is, like, it's not all about conversion rate. Conversion rate is a big piece, but probably I wouldn't say bigger piece, but probably just as important is average order value. Because if you double your conversion rate, yes, you double your revenue. But if you double your conversion rate and half your average order value, your revenue stays the same. What if you keep your conversion rate and triple your average order value? It's often easier to get a cut. Like, it's a little bit harder to get someone who's not buying to buy, right? People who are already buying, you can probably get to spend more money because they're already buying things. They've already bought into you. So how do you get them to spend a little bit more? Maybe it's not double, but can you get them to buy more? And that's honestly where bundles, upsells, cross-sells really come into play. Free shipping is one of them. Free gifts. We've actually seen probably the most movement on average order value. We do a lot of like, pick your free sample over X amount. We had a client who was kind of hovering around $90 average order value. And we were like, I wonder if we can get it to 100. So we instituted a free samples over 100. Order value went right up. Blue Mercury, every holiday season, has like their spend like $200 and get this like 100 sample sizes of like things. I get it every year.
So TVP helps its clients with a wide range of services, from platform migration and product sourcing to design and supply chain management. How does TVP have the capacity for such a broad range of expertise?
It might seem broad, but it's really everything. We look at everything from optimizing your operations. So even our design, right? And say what you will about this. My goal is not to win a design award with your website design. My goal is to get you sales and optimize your site traffic. So that's the first part of optimizing your site. The second part of optimizing is optimizing your fulfillment. So a lot of people do really weird things with their fulfillment. So how can we just kind of clean it up? How can we help organize this stuff so that post-purchase, your customers still have a good experience? And then the supply chain is the same thing. So we really focus on optimizing your operations and making sure everything goes smooth. And that's what we consider our specialty. The way it manifests for different companies, whether it's supply chain fulfillment or actual front-end design, that's just how it manifests. We do quite a lot of personalization work for companies who want like personalized water bottles or personalized bags. And the big question is, okay, well, how do you personalize this such that it can actually get created? So it's like, if you have personal golf bags and you want embroidered golf bags, okay, great. So someone puts their initials on it. Now what? Is it just like a magic fairy that embroiders the product? No, that something has to happen on the back end for that product to get embroidered. So we kind of think through all of that when we are creating our front end experiences.
Now, on a related note, some agencies prefer honing their expertise in niche areas to offer higher quality service, while others try to tackle too much and sacrifice the ability to make a difference. How do you strike a balance between being an all-in-one agency without losing the quality of work?
So that's why I kind of speak to the different departments, because we really are kind of three pretty unique departments. We work well together, but we're three departments, and each of the departments is a master of what it does. So that's kind of why, I spoke to this before. Our bread and butter when it comes to the sites we design are kind of your second or third site where we have the data. And we'll have people come to us and, they'll look at our proposal and they say, hey, I see this kind of data analysis part. What if we remove that? Bring down the budget. We won't let you. That's a very big part of why you would even come to us. And we need that to do our jobs. So, I really do see us as kind of having three very specific things that we do for three kind of different kinds of clients. And same thing for fulfillment. We have a specific kind of client that we would optimize their operations for. And then once they get too big for us, we kind of graduate them to one of our fulfillment partners. And then same thing goes for our merchandising department. There is a specific kind of merchandising that we do. We could help with your Okendo swag. What we're probably not going to do is help, this water bottle, like help design and figure out where to make this water bottle. That's not what we're going to do. For example, there are vertically integrated agencies that do marketing and development and content creation and all these things. And that's where I think it's kind of like too broad almost. Can you really do all of them that well? And that's one of the reasons we really don't do content or marketing. We just do website design and development with our kind of analytics backbone.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Well, Daria, thank you so much for your time. This has been super informative. If anyone from the audience would like to learn more about TVP, you can find them at tvp.nyc or send an email over to hello@tvp.nyc. Thanks again, Daria.